Women's bodies have always been viewed through microscopic lenses, and skinny bodies and fat bodies have never quite gotten the same reception from society. In television and film, fat women are often portrayed in a limited realm of roles where their fatness cannot be separated from their character, from comedic relief to aggressors or just plain insecure women. While skinny women are afforded the opportunity of more nuanced roles in film and television where they're actually seen as being sexy and desirable, but both groups of women are inevitably subjected to body shaming by those who feel they're either too skinny or too fat. We live in a world where many skinny women are often told to eat a sandwich or are called bony or anorexic. And fat women are constantly being told to go on a diet, stop being lazy, and are defined by their body types. So do skinny shaming and fat shaming pose equally hurtful and dangerous threats to women who are subjected to it? Let's talk about why women are tired of their bodies being scrutinized and why we need to wake up from body shaming. Fatphobia, the fear and dislike of fat people and the stigmatization of individuals with bigger bodies. Fatphobia occurs in both overt and nuanced ways in the everyday lives of fat people. The very stigmatization that exists with using the word fat in lieu of euphemistic terms such as plus-sized and big-boned exemplifies the negative association society has with fatness. In her 2016 memoir, Shrill, author Lindy West says, "As a woman, my body is scrutinized, policed, and treated as a public commodity. As a fat woman, my body is often lampooned, openly reviled, and associated with moral and intellectual failure. My body limits my job prospects, access to medical care, and fair trials, and the one thing Hollywood movies and internet trolls mostly agree on, my ability to be loved." So the subtext, when a thin person asks a fat person, "Where do you get your confidence?" is, "You must be some sort of alien, because if I look like you, I would definitely throw myself into the sea."
This is the way I've always been. I fluctuate. I'm a human being. You fluctuate. You're a human being. So I just wanted to put a disclaimer out there for anyone who might be new to me and think that I would post anything in response to anybody or this is like something new in my life. This is not. This is just who I am. Because I'm already getting some DMs being like, "You still look good." And I'm like, I know I look good. I've always been like this. You know what I'm saying? I have my periods where I just hot Cheetos, tequila, and I'm chilling. And I have my periods where I'm like, I need to do a cleanse, get all the heavy metals out of my body, the toxins from all the airplanes. I'm a human being. We're allowed to be human beings. We're allowed to do what we feel is best for our bodies. And you should always do that. Thank you. God bless you. I feel good. I really do. And my goal is not to be a thin person. I know my body. My goal is to be stronger, and my goal is to be healthy on the inside out.
Fat phobia is deeply rooted in complex structures like capitalism, patriarchy, and racism. And that can make it really difficult to see, let alone challenge. We live in a culture where being fat is seen as being a bad person. Lazy, greedy, unhealthy, irresponsible, and morally suspect. And we tend to see thinness as being universally good, responsible, successful, and in control of our appetites, bodies, and lives. We see these ideas again and again in the media, in public health policy, doctors' offices, in everyday conversations, and in our own attitudes. We may even blame fat people themselves for the discrimination they face because, after all, if we don't like it, we should just lose weight. Easy. This anti-fat bias has become so integral, so ingrained to how we value ourselves and each other, that we rarely question why we have such contempt for people of size and where that disdain comes from. But we must question it, because the enormous value we place on how we look affects every one of us. And do we really want to live in a society where people are denied their basic humanity if they don't subscribe to some arbitrary form of acceptable?
Society places blame on fat folks because, unlike race or sexuality, fatness isn't something you are born with. So fat people are viewed as culpable for their own predicaments. But obesity is often a response to poor mental health. But instead of having conversations about these underlying causes, fat people are instead ostracized for their appearances. The shame we attach to mental illness and the shame society attaches to women who are deemed unattractive produces an irrational hatred towards fat women, especially fat Black women. Fatphobia does not come from a place of genuine concern. It comes from a place of desirability politics where fat women are seen as undesirable and therefore not deserving of respect. Fatphobia comes from a place of discomfort of society feeling fat bodies take up too much space and therefore should not exist. Fatphobia comes from a place of power and control that the patriarchy places on women's bodies and worthiness. But whether fat women want to lose weight or eat healthy, or don't want to lose weight and don't want to eat healthy, their respectability should not boil down to the way that they look like or what their eating habits are. Fat shaming is undeniably reprehensible and unacceptable. So is skinny shaming just as hurtful? Skinny shaming, the act of ridiculing someone, almost always women, for being too thin, often on the assumption that they have an eating disorder. Skinny shaming vilifies women by accusing them of not eating and being too thin. In a time where the Instagram curvy aesthetic is seen as the most coveted body type, many skinny women feel pressured to resort to desperate measures to mimic this aesthetic. Meghan Trainor's 2014 song, All About That Bass, a seemingly body-positive song, was met with widespread criticism, with many feeling it put down skinny women to celebrate curvy women. The song's lyrics read, "My mama, she told me, don't worry about your size. She says boys, they like a little more booty to hold at night." She later says, "You know, I won't be no stick figure silicone Barbie doll." Eventually, Trainor sort of tries to make the song more inclusive by saying, "I'm bringing booty back. Go ahead and tell them skinny. No, I'm just playing. I know you think you're fat, but I'm here to tell you that every inch of you is perfect from the bottom to the top." This seemed like a last-minute insurance policy snuck in to claim that a song that spent 3.5 minutes proclaiming that women with curves are more attractive than skinny women was inclusive of all body types. Kelsey McKinney of Vogue said, while some verses in All About That Bass uplifted ideas of body positivity and self-worth, others destroyed those ideals by putting down other women. In 2017, YouTuber Hey Mandini made a short film documenting her experiences with skinny shaming.
Are you anorexic? You need to gain weight. Your arms are like toothpicks. You're gonna break. Look at those legs, they're so bony. Why are you so skinny? She has the body of a 12-year-old. You must be cold all the time. Zero is not a size. That's not a real body. She's as flat as a board. Her legs are like toothpicks. What are you, like 50 pounds? Skinny Bone Jones. Can I measure your arm? You look sickly.
As a woman who has personally been subjected to skinny shaming, I can tell you that it is immensely hurtful and defeating. This "how can you complain about your body when you look like that" mentality glosses over the challenges that many skinny women face when it comes to accepting their bodies. Last year, on an episode of the daytime talk show The Real, the ladies attempted to have a discussion about body image when discussing a recent interview actress Jamila Jamil had with Glamour magazine. Jamil, who has openly discussed her body dysmorphia and eating disorders, explained in the interview that she no longer obsesses about her body, and co-host Adrienne Bailon responded saying,
"Of course you don't think about your body. You look like that."
This idea that skinny people do not have insecurities about their bodies is intellectually dishonest and disregards the lived experiences of women like Jamil, who has used her platform to empower women of all sizes to accept their bodies. So the million-dollar question, right? Are skinny shaming and fat shaming on level playing fields? The answer? I don't know, but I'm going to incline towards saying no. and here's why. Although I admittedly, like I said, have blind spots when it comes to fat shaming, because I have not personally experienced it, I cannot disregard the idea of thin privilege. While I've certainly entered spaces where I was considered to be bony, anorexic, gaunt, the entire skinny shaming lexicon, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enter spaces where my skinniness made me desirable. But when is a fat person ever seen as desirable? Thinness has always been the 21st century hallmark for beauty, and while the paradigm has certainly shifted towards the Instagram body aesthetic, thinness still very much represents privilege, while fatness still very much represents disenfranchisement. But at the end of the day, shaming women based on what they look like is a byproduct of the patriarchy's power and control over the female identity. It's bad enough that men do it to us, which is why it's time for women to stop body shaming other women. Because the only way we can topple the male patriarchy is to amplify our voices and not allow them to pit us against one another.